The note landed beside my champagne glass like a death sentence written in hasty scrawl. Don't drink that. My 62nd birthday dinner. Crystal chandeliers. My family's laughter bouncing off marble walls. And a stranger in a server's uniform warning me that someone at this table wanted me dead. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to discover they wanted you gone? Have you ever sat across from family, breaking bread, sharing wine, while they smiled and plotted your funeral? My hands trembled as I lifted that glass. My daughter-in-law raised hers for a toast, her perfect lips curved in that beauty queen smile I'd grown to love over 5 years of marriage to my son. When your own family plots your demise at your birthday celebration, the very people who should protect you, who can you trust? I did something crazy, something that would haunt me forever. I switched our glasses. 5 minutes later, she collapsed, foam at her lips, convulsing on the restaurant floor while my son screamed her name. Would you sacrifice yourself to expose the truth, even if it meant watching an innocent person suffer? Or would you drink poison to keep the peace? I chose survival. I chose truth. And that choice revealed a darkness I never knew existed in my own family. Before I tell you what happened next, I need you to do something for me. If you've ever felt that gut instinct warning you about someone, that whisper in your soul saying something isn't right, leave a comment below. Share your story. You might save someone's life. And if this story makes your heart race like mine still does when I remember that night, hit that like button. Subscribe, because what I'm about to reveal about family, betrayal, and survival will change how you see the people closest to you. Trust me. You'll want to hear every word of this. Let me take you back to the beginning of that evening, back when I still believed my family loved me. The restaurant was called La Miran, elegant French establishment downtown, with soaring ceilings and windows overlooking the harbor. My son had insisted on booking the private dining room for my birthday. "Nothing's too good for Mom," he'd said, kissing my cheek when he made the reservation 3 weeks prior. I'd arrived early, as I always do. Old habits from decades of punctuality. The maitre d' escorted me through the main dining area where well-dressed couples murmured over wine and candlelight. My reflection caught in the floor-to-ceiling windows a woman in her 60s, wearing a midnight blue dress that my gentleman friend had said brought out my eyes. I'd taken extra care with my appearance that night. New relationship butterflies at my age. Who would have thought? "Mrs. Montgomery," the maitre d' announced as he opened the door to our private space. The room took my breath away. White roses, my favorite, cascaded from crystal vases on a table set for 8. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers. The harbor lights twinkled beyond the windows like earthbound stars. "Mom!" My son rushed forward, wrapped me in a hug that lifted me off my feet. At 32, he still had that boyish enthusiasm that made my heart swell. "Happy birthday, you look absolutely stunning." "You're going to wrinkle the dress," I laughed, but held him tighter anyway. This was my boy, my miracle baby after years of fertility struggles. The child I'd raised alone after his father passed when he was just 7. "Let me see you." He held me at arm's length, his ISO like his father shining with genuine affection. 62 never looked this good. 62? Came a honeyed voice from behind him. "I simply cannot believe it. You could pass for 45. My daughter-in-law glided toward me in a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She was stunning. There was no denying it. Blonde hair swept into an elegant chignon, skin like porcelain, features that could have graced magazine covers. She'd been a regional beauty pageant queen when my son met her at a charity gala 5 years ago. "You're too kind," I said as she air-kissed both my cheeks, her perfume something expensive and floral enveloping us both. "Not kind, honest." She linked her arm through mine. "And I absolutely love that dress. Is it new?" "A recent purchase," I admitted, leaving out that Robert had been with me when I bought it, had insisted on it actually, saying the color was made for me. Robert. Just thinking his name made warmth spread through my chest. We'd met 6 months ago at a gallery, opening both of us admiring the same abstract piece. He was a retired architect, widowed like me, with kind eyes and hands that knew how to hold a woman gently. We'd been taking things slow, but there was something building between us, something that felt like a second chance at happiness. My sister arrived next, bustling in with her usual tornado energy. "There's the birthday girl." She thrust a gift bag at me, kissed my cheek, immediately started rearranging the place cards. "Who decided on this seating? No, this won't do at all." The evening filled with family. My younger brother and his wife. My son's childhood best friend who'd become like a nephew to me. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and the gentle clink of silverware against fine china. We ordered appetizers, oysters, and escargot, delicate pastries stuffed with mushroom and cheese. My daughter-in-law insisted we try the caviar service. "It's a celebration," she said, her hand resting possessively on my son's arm. "We should indulge." I noticed she kept checking her phone. Subtle glances under the table when she thought no one was watching. My son noticed too. "Babe, can you put that away? It's Mom's night." "Of course. Sorry." She slipped the phone into her clutch, smiled that pageant smile. "Work stuff, you know how it is." But I didn't know. She'd quit her marketing job 8 months ago, citing stress. My son supported her decision. He made enough as a corporate lawyer to support them both. She'd mentioned starting her own consulting business, but I'd seen no evidence of clients or projects. Small observations I'd tucked away. Little inconsistencies that nagged at the back of my mind. The main courses arrived on pristine white plates. My son had pre-ordered for everyone filet mignon from most, though he'd remembered I prefer the Chilean sea bass. Such a thoughtful boy. Before we eat, my daughter-in-law stood, raising her champagne flute. I'd like to make a toast." Everyone lifted their glasses. I reached from beneath a crystal stem cold against my palm. "To the most wonderful mother-in-law a woman could ask for," she began, her voice carrying that rehearsed quality of someone used to public speaking. "You welcomed me into this family with open arms. You've been generous, loving, and such an inspiration. The way you built your business from nothing, the way you've managed everything after losing your husband, you're truly remarkable." My throat tightened with emotion. Perhaps I'd been too harsh in my assessments. Perhaps those little inconsistencies were just my overactive imagination. "To many more years of health, happiness, and family," she concluded, her eyes meeting mine across the table. Something flickered in her gaze there and gone so quickly I almost missed it. "May you enjoy every moment life has to offer." "Hear, hear," voices chorused around the table. I was raising my glass to my lips when a server appeared at my elbow. Young, brunette, not the woman who'd been attending our table all evening. "Excuse me, ma'am," she murmured, leaning close. Her hand trembled as she placed something beside my plate. A folded cocktail napkin. Then she was gone, disappeared into the kitchen before I could process what happened. "Mom, you okay?" My son's voice seemed to come from far away. I looked down at the napkin, at the words scrawled in desperate blue ink. "Don't drink that." My heart stopped. The room spun. Everyone was watching me, glasses raised, waiting for me to complete the toast. and I looked at my champagne flute, at the golden liquid that moments ago had seemed innocent and celebratory. Then I looked at my daughter-in-law. She was staring at me with an intensity that made my blood run cold. Not warm, not affectionate, predatory. Time seemed to slow. Every instinct I developed over 62 years of living screamed at me that something was desperately, terribly wrong. "Mom," my son repeated. "The toast?" I made a decision that would change everything. "Of course, darling." I smiled, lifted my glass higher. "But first, let me do something. A tradition from when your father was alive." I reached across the table before anyone could stop me and switched my champagne flute with my daughter-in-law's. "In our family," I lied smoothly, my heart hammering, "we always exchange glasses with the person who gave the toast. It's about sharing the blessing, the good wishes." Confusion flickered across faces. My sister frowned. We'd never had such a tradition. But my daughter-in-law's face went absolutely white. "Oh, that's not necessary," she said quickly, reaching for the glass. "Really?" "Nonsense." I pressed her original glass into her hand, held her gaze. Let her see that I knew. "Drink up, sweetheart. Let's share in this beautiful moment together." For just a second, pure hatred flashed in her eyes. Then the mask slid back into place. She lifted the glass, and with everyone watching, with my son beaming at what he thought was a touching gesture between his wife and mother, she drank. The champagne slid down her throat. I watched her swallow. Once. Twice. The delicate column of her neck moving with each gulp. She set the glass down with a crystalline clink that seemed to echo in my bones. "Lovely tradition," she said, but her voice had gone thin, strained. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think beyond the roaring in my ears. What had I just done? The conversation resumed around us. My brother launched into a story about his latest fishing trip. My sister laughed too loudly at something her husband said. The world continued spinning while I sat frozen, the folded napkin burning like a brand beneath my palm. "Don't drink that." 3 words that had triggered an avalanche of realization. Because now that I'd been warned, 1,000 small moments rushed back with crystalline clarity. The dinner party 6 weeks ago at my house. I'd felt violently ill afterward, stomach cramps so severe I'd ended up in the emergency room. Food poisoning, the doctors said. But I'd eaten the same meal as everyone else, and I'd been the only one affected. My daughter-in-law had been so attentive that night. Insisted on preparing my plate personally. "Let me serve you, Mom. You've done so much for us. Relax." I thought it was sweet. The coffee she'd brought me last month when she stopped by unexpectedly. I was in the neighborhood, thought you might like your favorite latte. I'd felt dizzy after drinking it. Blamed it on my blood pressure medication. The homemade cookies she'd delivered at Christmas. I'd had 3 and spent the next day with inexplicable heart palpitations. How many times? How many gifts, how many gestures of affection that I'd accepted with gratitude while she slowly poisoned me. "Mom, you're not eating." My son's concerned voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. "Is everything okay? You look pale." "I'm fine, honey." The lie tasted bitter. Just overwhelmed by all this. I gestured at the roses, the elegant table, the family gathered around. "You've all made this so special." But my eyes tracked my daughter-in-law. She'd barely touched her food. Her fingers drummed against the tablecloth a nervous rhythm that didn't match her composed expression. She kept glancing toward the kitchen doors. Looking for someone? The mysterious server who'd warned me? My phone buzzed in my clutch. A text from Robert. Hope you're having a wonderful evening, beautiful. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Sweet Reen. Tomorrow. Would there have been a tomorrow if I'd drunk from that glass? Would my son have found me collapsed in my home, another heart attack victim? Would Robert have gotten the call that the woman he was falling for had died suddenly, tragically? Would anyone have suspected murder? I need to use the restroom, my daughter-in-law announced abruptly, pushing back her chair. The legs scraped against the floor, a harsh sound that made me flinch. You okay, babe? My son asked. Fine, just need to freshen up. But she wasn't fine. A sheen of perspiration had appeared on her forehead. Her hand shook slightly as she reached for her clutch. She was scared. Good. The moment she left the room, I excused myself too. All that champagne, I said with an apologetic smile. I'll just be a moment. The hallway outside our private dining room was empty. Muted sounds of the main restaurant filtered through the gentle hum of conversation, soft music, the occasional laugh. I pressed myself against the wall, heart pounding, waiting. The women's restroom door opened. My daughter-in-law emerged, phone pressed to her ear. I don't know what happened, she was hissing into the phone. She switched the glasses. She knew somehow. A pause. No, I can't just leave. That would look suspicious. Another pause, longer this time. We stick to the plan. If she doesn't show symptoms, we can always. She froze. Saw me standing there. For a long moment, we simply stared at each other. Two women in a dim hallway. Mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Would-be murderer and intended victim. I have to go, she said into the phone, voice suddenly bright and cheerful. Yes, I'll call you tomorrow about that consultation. She lowered the phone, that pageant smile sliding into place. Mom, I didn't see you there. Clearly. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Who are you talking to? A potential client. You know how it is, business doesn't stop for birthdays. She moved to walk past me. We should get back. Your food will get cold. I caught her arm, felt the tension in her muscles beneath the soak of her dress. I know, I said quietly. Know what? But her eyes betrayed her. I know what you've been doing. The coffee, the cookies, the dinner at my house. How long have you been trying to kill me? Her face went through a remarkable transformation. Shock, fear, and then, perhaps, most chilling of all, relief, as if she was glad to drop the pretense. You can't prove anything, she said flatly. The champagne will show nothing. I was careful, always so careful. She pulled her arm free. And even if you make accusations, who will believe you? The bitter mother-in-law who never thought anyone was good enough for her precious son? Everyone knows you've had reservations about me. My son adores me, worships me. He'll think you're jealous, trying to sabotage his happiness. She leaned closer, her perfume now cloying rather than pleasant. You know what happens to old women who make wild accusations? They get labeled as confused, demented. Maybe you need to be in a care facility where professionals can monitor you. The threat was clear, unmistakable. Why? The word escaped before I could stop it. Why do you hate me this much? Something flickered in her expression. Hate you? I don't hate you. She laughed a brittle, hollow sound. I hate what you represent. The money, the property, the business, all that wealth tied up in one woman who's going to live another 20 years, maybe 30, while I... She stopped herself. While you... I pressed. Nothing. Forget it. She straightened her dress, reapplied her lipstick using a compact mirror. This conversation never happened. You have no proof, no witnesses. That server you're probably counting on doesn't exist. Check the employee records if you want. She swept past me, back toward the dining room, leaving me trembling in the hallway. But she was wrong about one thing. I had proof. I had the napkin with its desperate warning. And I had my switched champagne glass, the one she'd drunk from, believing it to be safe. The one that was now in her system. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called 911. "My daughter-in-law has been poisoned," I said when the operator answered. She drank from my glass. "I need an ambulance at La Mer restaurant immediately." "Ma'am, is she showing symptoms?" I walked back to the dining room, opened the door. My daughter-in-law was sitting at the table, laughing at something my brother had said. But as I watched, her laugh cut off. She pressed a hand to her stomach. "I don't feel," she started. Then she convulsed. It happened so fast. One moment she was sitting upright, the next she'd pitched forward, knocking over wine glasses and sending silverware clattering to the floor. Foam appeared at the corners of her mouth. Her body jerked with violent spasms. "Call 911, my son screamed, dropping to his knees beside her. "Someone call 911. "Already done," I said quietly, my phone still pressed to my ear. "Ambulance is on the way." My sister stared at me with dawning horror. "How did you called before she's having a seizure?" My brother was trying to hold my daughter-in-law still while my son sobbed, cradling her head. The maitre d' burst through the doors with the restaurant manager. Other diners crowded in the hallway, drawn by the commotion. Cell phones appeared, filming the chaos. And through it all, I stood perfectly still, watching the woman who'd tried to murder me fight for her life. The ambulance arrived within minutes, a small mercy of being in the downtown district. Paramedics swarmed the room with practiced efficiency. They strapped my daughter-in-law to a gurney, started on the fourth, barked medical terminology I didn't understand. "What did she ingest?" one paramedic demanded. "Poison," I said. All eyes turned to me. In champagne, in the glass that was meant for me. My son looked up from where he was clutching his wife's hand, his face streaked with tears. "Mom, what are you talking about?" "She switched glasses with me," I said. Each word felt like glass in my throat. And 5 minutes later, this happened. "That's insane," my sister whispered. "Is it?" I pulled out the napkin, held it up. Then how did I know to call 911 before she showed symptoms? Someone warned me. Someone knew that champagne was poisoned. The paramedics loaded the gurney. My son climbed into the ambulance with his wife, but not before turning back to me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not disbelief, betrayal. "We'll talk about this at the hospital," he said. Then he was gone, the ambulance doors slamming shut. Sirens wailing into the night. Police arrived as the ambulance pulled away. 2 officers in uniform, asking questions, taking statements, requesting that everyone remain at the restaurant. "I need to speak with whoever gave you this note," the older officer said, holding the napkin in a gloved hand. "Where is this server?" "I don't know." "She disappeared right after." "What did she look like?" I closed my eyes, trying to recall details through the haze of shock. Brunette, young, maybe late 20s. She wasn't wearing the same uniform as the other servers. Hers was slightly different. The restaurant manager shook his head. "We don't have anyone matching that description on staff tonight. All our servers are accounted for." "She was here," I insisted. "She warned me." "We'll need to review security footage," the officer said. "In the meantime, Mrs. Montgomery, I need you to come to the station to give a formal statement." My son called from the hospital 2 hours later. I was still at the police station, having given my statement 3 times to 3 different detectives. "She's stable," he said. His voice sounded hollow, empty. "They comped her stomach, found traces of something they're running tests." "Mom, they're saying it was attempted murder." "They're asking about you. About the switched glasses. About whether I tried to kill her." The accusation hung between us. I don't know what to think anymore. He sounded like a lost child. "I don't know what's real. If you knew the drink was poisoned and gave it to her anyway, she tried to kill me first, baby. I have the warning. I have witnesses to the glass switch. She's been poisoning me for months." "That's impossible." "She loves you. She loves our family." "Does she?" "Ask her about her debts. Ask her why she needed money so badly. Ask her who she was talking to on the phone right before she collapsed." Silence stretched between us. Then, "The police want to interview you again." "And Mom? They're not ruling you out as a suspect." The line went dead. I sat in that interrogation room for 6 hours. 6 hours of fluorescent lights that hummed with a frequency that made my teeth ache. 6 hours of repeating the same story to different faces. 6 hours of watching skepticism bloom in the eyes of every detective who heard my account. "Let me get this straight," Detective Harris said. She was a woman in her 40s with sharp features and sharper eyes. "A mysterious server who doesn't work at the restaurant gave you a note warning you about poisoned champagne. Instead of alerting anyone or calling authorities, you switched glasses with your daughter-in-law, who is now in critical condition at Mercy General." "I panicked," I said for what felt like the 100th time. I didn't have time to think. She was watching me so closely. If I'd hesitated, if I'd refused to drink, she would have known something was wrong. "So your solution was to potentially kill her instead?" I didn't know for certain the drink was poisoned. I hoped maybe it was a mistake. A prank, something innocent. Even as I said it, I knew how weak it sounded. Detective Harris leaned back in her chair. "Mrs. Montgomery, you're a businesswoman. You owned and operated a successful interior design firm for 30 years before selling it last year for a considerable sum. You're not someone who acts impulsively. Everyone acts impulsively when they believe their life is in danger, or when they want to eliminate a rival." The accusation hung in the air between us. "A rival for what?" I demanded. "My son's affection? I raised that boy alone after his father died. I've wanted nothing but his happiness." "Your son's affection?" "Your estate. Your legacy." Detective Harris opened a folder, slid several documents across the table. "We've done some preliminary research. You recently came into a substantial inheritance from your late husband's pension fund, over $2 million. You own your home outright, worth approximately $1.3 million. Your business sale netted you another $3.5 million after taxes. That's nearly $7 million in assets." I stared at the numbers. Seeing my life reduced to dollar amounts felt obscene. "Your daughter-in-law," Detective Harris continued, "stands to inherit nothing if you predecease your son. Your will leaves everything to him, with the stipulation that if he predeceases you, it goes to his children. She's effectively cut out." "I didn't cut her out." "That's standard estate planning." My attorney recommended. "Did she know about the will's terms?" I hesitated. I'm not sure. My son knows." We discussed it when I updated everything last year after the business sale. And your son tells his wife things. They're married. Detective Harris tapped her pen against the folder. So she knows that $7 million sits just out of her reach. Unless you're gone. But I'm not gone. She's the one in the hospital. Because you gave her poisoned champagne. That was meant for me. So you claim. But we have no evidence of this mysterious server. Security footage shows all the restaurant staff, and none match your description. The napkin you provided has no fingerprints except yours. My stomach dropped. That's impossible. She handed it to me. She wrote the warning. Did she? Or did you write it yourself to establish reasonable doubt? Why would I do that? Because you're smart. Because you knew that claiming self-defense would be more sympathetic than premeditated murder. Detective Harris leaned forward. Here's what I think happened. You resented your daughter-in-law. Maybe she wasn't the perfect wife you wanted for your son. Maybe you were jealous of their relationship. So you decided to get rid of her, but you needed it to look like self-defense. That's absurd. You poisoned the champagne yourself. Wrote the note to yourself. Made a show of switching glasses in front of witnesses. Called 911 before she showed symptoms which makes you look prescient, but also indicates foreknowledge of the poison's timeline. I couldn't breathe. The walls of the interrogation room seemed to close in. I would never hurt my son like that. Never. Wouldn't you? To protect your money? Your control? I don't need to protect anything. I was going to gift them a house. A down payment $500,000. I told my son last month that I wanted to help them build their future. This seemed to give Detective Harris pause. You were giving them money? Yes. My son wanted to move out of their apartment, start a family. I was thrilled to help. Tears burned behind my eyes. Why would I kill her if I was actively supporting their life together? The detective made a note. We'll verify that with your son. Please do. Ask him about the real estate agent we met with. The neighborhoods we toured. I've been nothing but supportive of their marriage. Then, why does your sister tell us you had concerns about the relationship? Damn it, my sister and her big mouth. Having concerns isn't the same as wanting someone dead, I said carefully. I thought they rushed into marriage. 5 months from meeting to wedding, that's fast. I wanted my son to be sure. What were your specific concerns? I thought about those early days, the whirlwind romance that had swept my practical, cautious son off his feet. She was intense. Everything happened so quickly. The engagement after 3 months, the expensive wedding that my son paid for, her quitting her job right after the honeymoon. Sounds like you thought she was a gold digger. I thought she was young and impulsive. There's a difference. Is there? Detective Harris closed the folder. Mrs. Montgomery, let me be frank. Right now, the evidence points to you as the primary suspect. Your daughter-in-law may not survive the night. If she dies, you'll be looking at murder charges. The room spun. She can't die. She has to wake up. She has to tell you what she did. If she did anything. A knock on the door interrupted us. A younger detective poked his head in. Harris. Hospital called. She's awake. Relief flooded through me so powerfully I nearly collapsed. Thank God. Thank God she's okay. She's asking for her husband, the young detective continued, and she's making some interesting allegations. Detective Harris stood. About? About Mrs. Montgomery. Says she's been threatened. Says her mother-in-law has been trying to sabotage her marriage for years. My relief curdled into dread. Book her, Detective Harris said. Attempted murder. Wait, no, you have to let me see her. Let me confront her. She'll crack. I know she will. The only place you're going is a holding cell. Detective Harris pulled out handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. The words washed over me as she read my rights. This couldn't be happening. This was my birthday. I was supposed to be home by now, texting Robert about the evening, maybe making plans for the weekend. Instead, I was being arrested for trying to murder my daughter-in-law. They processed me at 3 a.m. Fingerprints, mugshot, the humiliation of a strip search. They gave me orange scrubs that smelled of industrial bee detergent and led me to a cell with concrete walls and a metal toilet. I sat on the thin mattress and finally let myself cry. My phone confiscated during booking wouldn't stop ringing, according to the officer. My sister, my brother, Robert, my brother, son, especially my son. He's called 16 times, the booking officer had said, not unkindly. You get one phone call. Want to use it? But what could I say to him? How could I explain that his wife had tried to kill me, that I'd saved myself by poisoning her instead, that everything he believed about his marriage was a lie? I used my call to phone my attorney, woke him at 2:30 a.m. with news that would probably give him a heart attack. Don't say anything to anyone, Marcus had instructed. Not one word. I'll be there first thing in the morning. We'll figure this out. But how do you figure out being framed by someone who's supposed to be family? Morning came without me sleeping. Breakfast was runny eggs and toast. I couldn't eat. My stomach was a knot of anxiety and fear. Marcus arrived at 8. He looked exhausted despite his expensive suit. Tell me everything, he said once we were alone in a consultation room. So I did. Every detail, the warning, the switch, the confrontation in the hallway, my daughter-in-law's confession that she'd been poisoning me for months. None of which we can prove, Marcus said when I finished. The server doesn't exist. The phone call she made has no record. She could claim you misheard her. Your word against hers. What about the poison? They can test my blood. They'll find traces of what? We don't even know what poison was used yet. Toxicology takes time. And even if they find something in your system, she'll claim you poisoned yourself to frame her. That's insane. Is it? You're the one with millions in assets. You're the one who switched the glasses. You're the one who called 911 before symptoms appeared. Marcus rubbed his temples. I'm not saying I don't believe you, but we need evidence. Hard evidence. And right now, we have none. The mysterious server, she must be real. She has to be. Someone hired her to warn me. Someone knew what was happening. Who would do that? I thought about it. Who had access to my daughter-in-law's plans? Who would have reason to protect me? I don't know, I admitted, but we need to find her. She's the key to everything. The police are reviewing security footage. If she exists, they'll find her. And if they don't? Marcus met my eyes. Then you need to prepare yourself for trial, because right now, it's her word against yours. And she's the victim in a hospital bed while you're the defendant in a jail cell. What about my son? Have you spoken to him? Briefly. He's confused, angry. He doesn't know what to believe. My heart shattered. Tell him I love him. Tell him I would never do anything to hurt him. He knows that. Deep down, he knows. Marcus stood. I'm going to request bail. With your community ties and lack of criminal history, we should get it. But it won't be cheap. I don't care about the money. I just want to go home. But even as I said it, I wondered if I'd ever feel at home anywhere again. My family fractured, my son doubting me, my daughter-in-law weaving lies from her hospital bed, and somewhere out there, a mysterious woman who'd saved my life but might as well have been a ghost. The bail hearing was set for that afternoon. As they led me back to my cell, I passed a TV in the common area. The local news was on. Local woman in critical condition after suspected poisoning at upscale restaurant. Police have arrested the victim's mother-in-law in connection with the incident. Sources say the two women had a troubled relationship. My face appeared on screen, my booking photo. I looked haggard, guilty. The other inmates stared at me with new interest. You tried to kill your daughter-in-law? One woman asked. She tried to kill me first, I said quietly. The woman laughed. That's what they all say, honey. I closed my eyes and prayed for Robert to somehow know I needed him. Prayed for my son to remember who I really was. Prayed for the mysterious server to materialize with evidence that would prove my innocence. But mostly, I prayed that my daughter-in-law's poisoned words wouldn't destroy me before the truth could set me free. The bail was set at $500,000. I posted it within 2 hours, thank God for liquid assets and a good attorney. Marcus arranged for an ankle monitor and strict conditions. No contact with my daughter-in-law, no leaving the county, daily check-ins with a bail officer. I walked out of that jail into blinding afternoon sunlight, feeling like a stranger in my own skin. Robert was waiting by his car. The sight of him nearly broke me. He stood there in jeans and a sweater, his silver hair slightly disheveled, his face lined with worry. The moment he saw me, he opened his arms. I ran to him like a teenager, buried my face in his chest, and sobbed while he held me, one hand stroking my maw. Hair, murmuring words I couldn't quite hear over my own crying. I've got you, he finally said clearly. Whatever this is, whatever's happening, I've got you. You shouldn't be here. This will be all over the news. Your reputation, my reputation? He pulled back to look at me, cupping my face in his hands. You think I care about that? The woman I love is in trouble. Where else would I be? The woman he loved. He'd never said it before. We'd been taking things slow, careful, both of us scarred by previous losses. But here he was, declaring it in the worst possible moment. I didn't do it, I whispered. Didn't try to kill her. She tried to kill me. I know. How can you know? Because I know you. He kissed my forehead. And because I'm the one who sent the warning. Everything stopped. The traffic sounds, the distant sirens. Even my heartbeat seemed to pause. What? Robert guided me to his car, helped me into the passenger seat. Only when we were driving did he explain. 3 months ago, I attended a charity dinner with you. Your son and daughter-in-law were there. Remember? I did. It had been a breast cancer fundraiser, my first time introducing Robert to my family in a public setting. I went to the bar for drinks. Robert continued. Your daughter-in-law was there, on her phone. She didn't see me. I heard her talking to someone about money. Large sums. She was angry, desperate, said something about the old woman having to go. But it was taking too long. My blood ran cold. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wasn't certain she meant you. I thought maybe she was talking about her own mother, or a client, or I didn't want to alarm you without cause. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel, but it bothered me. So I hired someone. A private investigator named Rachel Moore. Rachel, the mysterious server. She's been following your daughter-in-law for 2 months, Robert said, documenting her activities. Her phone calls, her meetings. And when Rachel discovered she'd purchased something suspicious online chemicals that matched common poison compounds, she started monitoring your family dinners more closely. She infiltrated the restaurant. She bribed a real server to take a break. Swapped uniforms. Rachel knew your daughter-in-law had reserved that private room weeks in advance. She suspected something would happen that night. But she didn't stop it. She just warned me. Because we needed proof. If Rachel had intervened before the poisoning attempt, your daughter-in-law could have claimed it was a misunderstanding, could have disposed of evidence. We needed her to commit the act, to be caught in the process. Robert's voice cracked. I never thought she'd actually go through with it. I thought Rachel's presence would deter her. When I got your attorney's call this morning saying you'd been arrested, you've been protecting me this whole time. Trying to. Not very successfully, it seems. We drove in silence for a while. My mind raced, trying to process this revelation. Robert had suspected, had taken action, had tried to save me without frightening me. Where is Rachel now? I asked, lying low. The police want to question her, but she can't come forward yet. Not until we have everything organized. He glanced at me. She's been gathering evidence. Financial records. Phone logs. Security footage from various locations showing your daughter-in-law meeting with unsavory people. But it takes time to compile everything properly. My son needs to know. He thinks I'm a monster. He'll know. Soon. I promise. Robert pulled into my driveway. My house looked exactly as I'd left it yesterday, flowers blooming in the garden, the porch light still on from last night, a lifetime ago. But first, you need to rest. Eat something. Let me take care of you. Inside, my house felt foreign. Every room held memories that now seemed tainted. Had my daughter-in-law walked through these spaces planning my death? Had she touched my things, drunk my tea, all while imagining my funeral? My phone returned with my personal effects, 63 missed calls, dozens of text messages, most from family members demanding explanations. Some from reporters requesting interviews, a few from neighbors expressing shock and disappointment. One text from my son, sent at 4 a.m. I need to understand. Please help me understand. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. What could I say that would make this better? Before I could decide, my phone rang. My sister. Don't answer it, Robert advised, but I couldn't not answer. Hello? What the hell were you thinking? She didn't bother with pleasantries. Switching glasses? Even if she did try to poison you one day, that's a big if you essentially tried to kill her back. She confessed to me. In the hallway. She admitted she's been poisoning me for months. You Clay. But there's no recording. No witnesses. Just your word. My sister's voice softened slightly. I want to believe you. God, I want to. But this looks bad. Really bad. I know. Your son is devastated. He's at the hospital now with her. She's awake, talking, telling him how you've always hated her. How you've been sabotaging their marriage. And he's listening because his wife is in a hospital bed and his mother is in jail. Each word was a knife. I would never sabotage his happiness. Then why did you tell me last year that you thought she was using him? Why did you say you wished he'd never met her? I closed my eyes, Private conversations, sister to sister, late-night wine talks where I'd expressed concerns, now weaponized against me. Having doubts isn't the same as attempted murder, I said quietly. Tell that to the jury. She sighed. Look, I'm on your side. I am. But you need to give me something. Some evidence that your story is true. Because right now, it's her word against yours, and she's got a hell of a lot more sympathy. I glanced at Robert. He nodded. There's a private investigator, I said. She has evidence. She's been documenting everything. Then where is she? Why hasn't she gone to the police? It's complicated, but she will. Soon. You have to trust me. I'm trying. We all are. Voices murmured in the background. I have to go. The family is gathering at the hospital. They want to discuss things. What things? Your will. Your assets. Whether you're mentally competent to make decisions. She paused. Some relatives think you might be having early onset dementia. That would explain the paranoia, the accusations. I'm not paranoid or demented. I know, but they don't. And your daughter-in-law is feeding them a very convincing narrative about your declining mental state. The call ended. I stared at my phone, feeling the walls close in again. She's smart, I said to Robert. She's positioning herself as the victim of a mentally ill woman. If this goes to trial, she'll paint me as unstable, jealous, delusional. Then we make sure it doesn't go to trial. Robert pulled out his own phone. I'm calling Rachel. It's time to move. Have you ever had someone close to you twist the truth so completely that you started questioning your own reality? That's what gaslighting looks like, and it happens more often than you think, especially to older women who dare to speak up about abuse. If this story is making you think differently about family dynamics and trust, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that share button and drop a comment if you've ever been in a situation where no one believed you. Your story matters. Let's keep going because this is about to get even more complicated. Rachel arrived at my house an hour later. She looked different than I remembered from the restaurant. Her brunette hair was now pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup, wearing jeans and a leather jacket. She carried a laptop bag and had the weary eyes of someone who hadn't slept in days. Mrs. Montgomery. She shook my hand firmly. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. You saved my life. Barely. I should have acted sooner. Should have warned you weeks ago. She set up her laptop on my dining room table. But Mr. Patterson wanted concrete evidence before alarming you. We thought we had more time. Show me what you have. I said. What Rachel showed me made my blood run cold. Months of surveillance footage, my daughter-in-law meeting with a man in his 50s, rough-looking, with prison tattoos visible on his neck, money changing hands, packages exchanged. His name is Derek Vaughn, Rachel explained. He's got a record. Assault. Drug trafficking. And he's known in certain circles as someone who can acquire unusual items. Poisons. Untraceable compounds. She bought poison from him? Multiple times. Small amounts spread over 6 months. Nothing that would trigger alarms with any single purchase. Rachel pulled up financial records. She's been liquidating assets. Sold jewelry. Maxed out credit cards. She's $70,000 in debt. How? My son makes a good salary, gambling. Online poker sites mostly. She's been hiding it. but she's in deep with some loan sharks. They've been pressuring her for payment. Rachel showed me threatening text messages. She needed money fast. Your money. So she decided to kill me. It gets worse. Rachel pulled up more documents. She's been researching your medical history, your medications. She knew exactly which symptoms to mimic to make your death look natural. Heart attack, stroke, something plausible for a woman your age. I felt sick. The premeditation, the cold calculation. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was murder planned with meticulous care. There's more, Rachel said quietly. Phone records show she's been in contact with someone else. Someone she calls D. They've been texting constantly, planning, coordinated. Who is D? We're still working on that. The number is registered to a burner phone, but based on the content of the messages. Rachel hesitated. It's someone close to your family. Someone with inside knowledge of your routines, your schedule, your vulnerabilities. An accomplice. Not just my daughter-in-law acting alone, but a conspiracy. Does my son know any of this? Not yet. Rachel looked at Robert. We wanted to compile everything first. Make sure it's ironclad, because once we reveal this, there's no going back. Your son's marriage will be over. His wife will go to prison. His entire life will implode. It's already imploding, I said. But at least it'll be based on truth rather than lies. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Stop digging. Let it go. Or everyone you love will suffer. I showed it to Rachel. She immediately started tracing the number. Same burner phone, she confirmed. Whoever D is, they know we're investigating. Good, I said with more confidence than I felt. Let them know. Let them panic. People make mistakes when they're scared. Robert squeezed my hand. This is dangerous. If they're threatening you, they already tried to kill me. I'm not backing down now. I looked at Rachel. What do we need to do? Go to the police. Present everything. Let them take over the investigation. Will they listen? Or will they think I fabricated evidence to cover my own guilt? Detective Harris is tough, but she's fair. If we present this properly, show her the timeline, the financial records, the surveillance, she'll have to acknowledge reasonable doubt at minimum, and at maximum. Rachel smiled grimly. At maximum, your daughter-in-law gets arrested from her hospital bed, and you walk free. It sounded too good to be true. But I had to believe it. Had to believe that justice existed, that truth mattered, that the system would protect victims rather than enablers. Set up a meeting, I said. As soon as possible. I want this nightmare over. Rachel made the call. Detective Harris agreed to meet the next morning at the police station. 9 a.m. Neutral territory. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow seemed menacing. Robert insisted on staying, sleeping on my couch despite my protests that it wasn't proper. Proper went out the window when someone tried to murder you, he said. I'm not leaving you alone. At 2 a.m., my security alarm went off. Someone was trying to break in through the back door. Robert was on his feet before I fully processed what was happening. He grabbed a golf club from my hall closet, not much of a weapon, but better than nothing, and positioned himself between me and the hallway leading to the back of the house. Call 911, he whispered. My hands shook as I dialed. The alarm continued its shrill wailing, loud enough to wake the entire neighborhood. Through the phone, I heard the dispatcher's calm voice asking questions I could barely answer. Someone's breaking in. Back door. Please send officers. Please hurry. Units are on the way, ma'am. Stay on the line with me. Are you in a safe location? Living room, with a friend. We can hear them trying to force the bash. Door. And we could. The sound of wood splintering. A grunt of effort. Then footsteps heavy, purposeful moving through my kitchen. Robert raised the golf club. "Show yourself," he shouted. "Police are on the way." The footsteps stopped. Then a voicemail, rough, familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. "Mrs. Montgomery, we need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Get out of my house." "Can't do that. Not until you understand the situation you're in." The man stepped into view. Derek Vaughn, the same person from Rachel's surveillance photos. Up close, he was even more menacing, 6 feet tall, muscular, with those prison tattoos creeping up his neck and a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. "The police are coming," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You need to leave now. They're 5 minutes out. I've got time." He held up his hands, showing he wasn't armed. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to deliver a message." "From who?" "From people who want this situation resolved quietly, without additional mess." He leaned against my doorframe, casual as if we were having a normal conversation. "You've been asking questions, hiring investigators, making noise. That needs to stop. Or what?" "Or what? Or your son has an accident. Or your boyfriend here disappears. Or your sister's house burns down while she's sleeping." He delivered these threats with the emotional investment of someone reading a grocery list. "Lots of ways to make you cooperate." Robert tightened his grip on the golf club. "You're threatening her family?" "I'm explaining consequences. There's a difference." Derek's eyes shifted to me. "Your daughter-in-law made a business arrangement. She didn't fulfill her end. That created problems for certain people who don't like problems. You walking around, asking questions, presenting evidence that creates more problems. And she tried to murder me. Did she? Or did you poison yourself to frame her?" He shrugged. "Doesn't matter to me either way. What matters is you're making waves. Waves bring attention. Attention is bad for business." "What business?" But even as I asked, pieces clicked into place. The gambling debts. She owed money to loan sharks, to criminals, and when she couldn't pay, she offered an alternative payment plan. Your assets, your properties, your bank accounts. Derek examined his fingernails. She was supposed to inherit quickly and quietly. Instead, you're alive and she's in a hospital. That's a breach of contract. A contract to commit murder. Semantics. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Derek straightened. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop all charges. You're going to tell the police it was a misunderstanding, a birthday prank gone wrong, whatever story makes this go away." "Absolutely not. Then people you love will suffer, starting with your son." He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. My son, leaving the hospital, unaware he was being photographed, unaware of the danger he was in. He's vulnerable right now, distracted. Would be easy for something unfortunate to happen. Rage burned through my fear. If you touch him, you'll what? You're already on bail for attempted murder. You're already the villain in this story. The sirens were almost here now. Derek pocketed his phone. 24 hours. That's how long you have to make this right. After that, well, accidents happen. He disappeared back through my kitchen just as police cars screeched into my driveway, their red and blue lights painting my living room in alternating colors. 3 officers burst through my front door moments later, weapons drawn. "Police! Where's the intruder?" "Back door," Robert said. "He just left. Mail But by the time officers searched the backyard, Derek was gone. Vanished into the night like smoke. They found the splintered door frame, fresh gouges in the wood where he'd forced entry, but no sign of the man himself. "We'll need full statements from both of you," the lead officer said. She was young, maybe late 20s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "You said you recognized the intruder?" I explained about Derek Vaughn, about Rachel's investigation, about the surveillance photos showing him with my daughter-in-law. The officer made notes. "We'll put out a warrant for his arrest. Breaking and entering, criminal threatening. Does he have a last known address?" "The private investigator would know," Robert said. "Rachel Moore. She's been documenting everything. We'll need to speak with her too, as soon as possible. She's meeting us at the station tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. with Detective Harris." The officer's eyebrows rose. "Harris is lead on your attempted murder case, isn't she?" "Yes." "Interesting." She closed her notebook. "We'll have the unit patrol your street tonight. Keep your doors and windows locked. If he comes back." "He won't," I said. He delivered his message. After the police left, Robert and I sat in my living room as dawn began to paint the sky pink and gold. Neither of us had slept. Neither of us could. "You need to take his threats seriously," Robert said. "These people, they don't make empty promises." "I know." I stared at my phone, at the photo of my son that was probably identical to the one Derek had shown me. But if I back down, if I drop the charges, she gets away with it. She walks free. And what's to stop her from trying again? "At least you'd be alive." Would I? Living in fear, waiting for the next attempt, always looking. Over my shoulder? I shook my head. "That's not living. That's just surviving. And I'm tired of just surviving." Robert pulled me close. "Then we fight. But we fight smart. We tell Detective Harris everything. Let the police handle Derek and whoever else is involved." "They couldn't even catch him tonight. He walked right out of here." "Because they didn't know he was coming. Now they do. Now they can protect you properly." I wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that the system would work, that justice would prevail. But I'd seen too much of how money and fear could corrupt even good people. My phone buzzed. A text from my son. "Can we talk? Please. I need to see you." My heart leaped. "He wants to meet." That could be a trap. Derek said your son was vulnerable. He's my son. I have to see him. I typed back. "When and where?" The response came immediately. "Coffee shop on Main Street. 8 a.m. Just us. No lawyers, no investigators. Please, Mom, I need answers." Robert frowned. "I don't like it. Too exposed. Too public. Public is good. Witnesses. Security cameras." I stood, feeling purpose flow through me for the first time in days. "I'm meeting him. I'll explain everything. Show him the evidence. He deserves to know what his wife really is." "Then I'm coming with you." He said, "Just us. I'll sit at a different table, close enough to intervene if needed, far enough to give you privacy." Robert's voice left no room for argument. "I'm not letting you go alone. Not after tonight." I didn't argue. Truth was, I needed him there. Needed his steady presence, his protection, his love. Love. Such a strange word to think about amidst all this darkness. But there it was. I loved this man who'd hired investigators to protect me, who slept on my couch with a golf club, who was willing to face down criminals for my safety. And my daughter-in-law had tried to take that away from me, had tried to take everything away. The rage that thought sparked carried me through the next few hours. I showered, changed into clean clothes, forced myself to eat toast I couldn't taste, Robert made coffee strong and black, the way I needed it to function on no sleep. At 7:45 a.m., we drove to Main Street. The coffee shop was a local favorite: brick walls, vintage posters, the smell of espresso and fresh pastries. Normally it would be packed at this hour, but we'd arrived early enough to secure a corner table. My son was already there. He looked terrible. Unshaven, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under bloodshot eyes. He'd aged years in 2 days. When he saw me, something complicated crossed his face relief: anger, confusion, grief. "Mom." His voice cracked on the word, "baby." I moved toward him, arms open, but he stepped back. "Don't. Not yet. I need to understand what happened. I need the truth." So I gave it to him, all of it. Sitting across from each other with cooling coffee cups, I told him about the warning, the switched glasses, the confrontation with his wife. About Derek Vaughn, and the gambling debts, and the months of systematic poisoning. His face went through a dozen emotions: disbelief, horror, denial, rage. When I finished, he sat in silence for a long moment. "She says you're lying," he finally said. "She says you've always hated that having concerns isn't the same as attempted murder. She says you're mentally unstable, that you've been showing signs of dementia, paranoia, delusions." He looked at me with haunted eyes. "Are you? Is there any chance?" "No." I reached across the table, took his hand. He didn't pull away. "I am completely lucid, completely sane, and I have proof. The private investigator Robert hired has been documenting everything: financial records, surveillance footage, text messages. It's all real." "Show me." So I did. Robert had made copies of Rachel's evidence on a USB drive we'd anticipated my son would need to see for himself. I pulled out my laptop, loaded the files, and watched my son's world crumble as he saw the truth. His wife meeting with Derek Vaughn, money changing hands. Text messages planning my death, financial records showing $70,000 in gambling debts. "Oh God," he whispered. "Oh God, this can't be real." "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I loved her. I trusted her. We were going to start a family." Tears spilled down his cheeks. How did I not see it? How was I so blind? Love makes us blind sometimes. She's very good at deception. She's been sleeping beside me every night, making love to me, planning our future, while secretly plotting to kill you for money. He looked up at me. Did she ever love me at all? Or was I just a means to an end? I didn't have an answer that would make it hurt less. "I need to see her," he said suddenly. "I need to confront her, ask her why. The police. I don't care about the police. She's still my wife. I need to hear it from her." He stood, grabbing his jacket. "Come with me, to the hospital. Make her tell the truth with both of us there." "I can't. The bail conditions prohibit contact. Then I'll record it. Video on my phone. Get her confession." His eyes had a desperate, wild look. "Please, Mom. I need this. I need to know if anything between us was real." Robert appeared at my elbow. "That's a bad idea. If she lawyers up..." "She won't. Not if I play it right. I'm her husband. She'll talk to me." My son looked between us. "I'm going whether you come or not, but I'd rather have witnesses. People I trust." I looked at Robert. He shook his head slightly. "Don't do it." But this was my son. My boy, who was breaking in real time, whose entire life had been revealed as a carefully constructed lie. "I'll call Rachel," I said. "Have her alert Detective Harris. If we're doing this, we're doing it by the book. No time, she's being discharged this afternoon. If I'm going to confront her, it has to be now." He was already heading for the door. "Are you coming or not?" Against every instinct screaming at me to stop, I followed my son out of the coffee shop and toward a confrontation that would change everything. Behind me, Robert made a phone call. To Rachel, I assumed. Or the police. Or both. But by then, we were already in my son's car, already speeding toward Mercy General Hospital, already racing toward truths that couldn't be unspoken once revealed. The mysterious D was about to be exposed, and the real conspiracy behind my attempted murder was far darker than any of us had imagined. Mercy General Hospital smelled of antiseptic and desperation. My son moved through the corridors like a man possessed, his jaw set, his hands clenched into fists. I struggled to keep pace, Robert close behind us. "Room 412, my son said without breaking stride. "She's in a private room, my credit card paying for every expensive minute of it." The bitterness in his voice cut deep. This was what betrayal looked like, not the explosive kind from movies, but the slow, grinding realization that everything you believed was a carefully constructed lie. We reached the room. Through the small window in the door, I could see her, my daughter-in-law, propped up in the hospital bed, looking pale but very much alive. She was on her phone, texting someone, a slight smile on her face. That smile vanished the moment my son opened the door. "Sweetheart?" She set the phone down quickly. "I wasn't expecting you until later," the doctor said. Her eyes landed on me. The color drained from her already pale face. "What is she doing here?" "We need to talk," my son said quietly. He pulled out his phone, positioned it on the bedside table, angled toward her. "All of us. She's violating her bail conditions. She's not supposed to be within 100 feet of me." "Then call the police," I said, stepping fully into the room. "Go ahead, call them. Tell them your mother-in-law is here asking uncomfortable questions." Her hand moved toward the call button, but my son caught her wrist. "Don't. Not yet. First, you're going to answer some questions." "Baby, what's going on? You're scaring me." "Am I? Good. Because I've been scared since my mother got arrested for trying to poison you. Scared and confused because none of it made sense." He released her wrist, stepped back. "Who's Derek Vaughn?" She blinked. "I don't know anyone by that name." "Really?" "Because I have surveillance footage of you meeting with him multiple times, exchanging money, exchanging packages." My son's voice remained eerily calm. "Want to try again?" Her mouth opened, closed. She looked between us, calculating. "Okay, yes, I know Derek. He helped me with a business matter." "What kind of business matter requires a man with a criminal record?" "It's complicated. $70,000 in gambling debts," I said. "That's not complicated. That's desperate." She shot me a venomous look. "You have no idea what you're talking about." "Then explain it to me. Explain why you've been secretly gambling away my son's money, why you've been meeting with loan sharks, why you purchased poison from a convicted felon." "I never. We have the receipts," Robert said from the doorway. "Bank transfers, text messages, everything documented." My daughter-in-law's facade cracked. The beauty queen mask slipped, revealing something harder underneath. Something calculating and cold. "Fine. Yes, I had debts. Made some bad investments, played some games I shouldn't have. But I was handling it." "By killing me?" "By securing our future." She looked at my son desperately. "Baby, your mother has millions." millions she's hoarding while we live in that tiny apartment. I just was... My son's voice finally rose. She's alive. It's her money. How does that make it ours? Because you're her only son. Because eventually you'd inherit anyway. I was just speeding up the timeline. The admission hung in the air. Spoken so casually, as if discussing grocery shopping rather than premeditated murder. You were poisoning her, my son said slowly. The coffee, the cookies, how long? 6 months. Small doses, enough to weaken her, make her sick, but not enough to raise suspicion. The champagne was supposed to be the final dose, something that would look like a heart attack or stroke, natural causes. She smiled bitterly. But someone warned her. Someone interfered. Rachel Moore, I said. The investigator Robert hired when he overheard you planning my murder. Her eyes widened. Then she laughed a harsh, brittle sound. So it was you, she said to Robert. The boyfriend, the knight in shining armor. How romantic. Who's D? I demanded. Who've you been texting? Who's your accomplice? There's no accomplice. We know there is. The burner phone, the coordination, someone with inside knowledge of my family. I stepped closer to the bed. Who is it? She pressed her lips together stubbornly. My son picked up her phone from the bedside table. What's your passcode? You can't just, I pay for that phone. What's the passcode? His voice held a command I'd never heard before. My gentle boy, suddenly steel. She gave him the numbers. He unlocked the screen, scrolled through messages, his face growing darker with each passing second. No, he whispered. No, this can't be. What? I moved beside him, looked at the screen. The messages to D were all there. Months of planning, coordinated, scheming, and at the top of the thread, a contact name that made my blood freeze. Deborah, my sister. Deborah? I grabbed the phone, read through the messages with shaking hands. Plans to access my financial accounts. Discussions about my daily routines. Suggestions for making my death look accidental. All signed off with my sister's distinctive texting style complete with her characteristic emoji use and phrases. She's been helping you? The betrayal felt like a physical wound. My own sister. She needed money, too, my daughter-in-law said defensively. Her husband's business is failing. They're about to lose their house. I offered to split the inheritance with her if she helped. Split my inheritance. That I'm not dead to give you. Yet, she corrected. Then seemed to realize what she'd said. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. My son set the phone down carefully, his hands trembling. You meant exactly that. You and my aunt conspired to murder my mother for money. Baby, listen. Don't call me that. Don't ever call me that again. He looked at her like she was a stranger. Did you ever love me? Even a little? She hesitated too long. That hesitation was answer enough. My son turned and walked out of the room without another word. I heard his footsteps echoing down the corridor, heard the stairwell door slam. You destroyed him, I said quietly. He would have given you anything, worked himself to death for you, loved you unconditionally, and you destroyed him. He'll get over it. Men always do. Give him a few months, tell him I was sick, but I wasn't in my right mind. He'll never forgive you, and neither will I. I picked up her phone. The police will want this. All of it. Every message, every confession. You can't prove those messages are real. I'll say you fabricated them. The video. Robert reminded her, pointing to my son's phone still recording. On the bedside table. You confessed on camera. Her face went white. That's illegal. Recording without consent. In this state, only one party needs to consent to recording. Your husband consented when he set up his phone. Robert smiled grimly. Everything you just said is admissible in court. The hospital room door burst open. Detective Harris strode in with 2 uniformed officers. Mrs. Montgomery, you're in violation of your bail conditions. She stopped, taking in the scene. What's going on here? She confessed, I said. To everything. Poisoning me? The conspiracy with my sister? It's all on video. Robert handed over my son's phone. Detective Harris watched the footage, her expression darkening with each passing second. Well, she said when it finished, this changes things considerably. She turned to my daughter-in-law. You're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and criminal threatening. I'm a victim. She poisoned me. With poison you purchased to kill her. That's not self-defense. That's irony. Detective Harris nodded to the officers. Book her. As they handcuffed my daughter-in-law to the hospital bed, she'd need to remain under medical supervision. Detective Harris turned to me. Your sister. We'll need to bring her in for questioning. I'll give you her address. The words tasted like ash. The breaking and entering last night, Derek Vaughn. We picked him up an hour ago. He's already talking, trying to cut a deal. Gave up your daughter-in-law and your sister immediately. Harris almost smiled. Criminals aren't known for loyalty. Relief washed through me so powerfully, I nearly collapsed. Robert caught my elbow, steadied me. It's over, he murmured. It's finally over. But it wasn't. Not quite. Because my son was somewhere in this hospital, his heart shattered, his trust destroyed. And my sister, my own blood, had tried to have me killed. Some betrayals cut too deep to ever fully heal. I found my son in the hospital chapel. He sat in the front pew, head bowed, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. The sight of him broke something in me, that the poisoning, the arrest, and even my sister's betrayal hadn't managed to crack. I slid into the pew beside him, said nothing, just sat there, offering my presence. After a long moment, he leaned against me the way he used to as a child. I wrapped my arms around him while he cried deep, wrenching sounds that came from somewhere primal. I'm sorry, I whispered into his hair. I'm so sorry, baby. You have nothing to be sorry for. I brought her into our lives. I married her. I was too blind to see what she really was. His voice was raw. How do I come back from this? How do I ever trust anyone again? One day at a time. With help. With people who truly love you. I held him tighter. And you will come back from it. Because you're strong. Because you're my son. Robert appeared in the chapel doorway, gave me a questioning look. I nodded. We needed more time. My son pulled away, wiped his eyes with his sleeve. Aunt Deborah, too. I don't understand. Why would she? Money makes people do terrible things, shows you who they really are when they think no one's watching. I took his hand. But not everyone is like them. Robert hired an investigator to protect me. Rachel risked her safety to warn me. And you stood by me even when it looked bad, even when you had doubts. I should have known sooner. Should have questioned her. Protected you better. You loved her. That's not a weakness. That's your beautiful heart. I cupped his face. Don't let what she did turn you cynical. Don't let her poison that part of you too. He nodded, though I could see the doubt in his eyes. Healing would take time. Maybe years. But he'd get there. We left the hospital together. Detective Harris had released me from the bail conditions. All charges against me dropped. My daughter-in-law would face trial for attempted murder. My sister was arrested at her home an hour later, led away in handcuffs while her husband watched in shock. The media had a field day. Birthday poisoning plot exposed, the headlines screamed. Mother-in-law saves herself, exposes family conspiracy. My face was everywhere. The booking photo replaced with newer images of me leaving the courthouse after my charges were dismissed. Robert fielded interview requests while I hid in my house, processing everything. Rachel stopped by with her final report, thick folders documenting months of investigation. Evidence that would ensure my daughter-in-law and sister spent years behind bars. Derek Vaughn took a plea deal, Rachel informed me. 20 years for his role. He's testifying against everyone else. And the others? The loan sharks? Federal charges. The FBI's been building a case against that organization for years. Your daughter-in-law's desperation gave them the break they needed. Rachel smiled slightly. You may have accidentally helped bring down a major criminal enterprise. Small comfort, but comfort nonetheless. The trial took 6 months to begin. My daughter-in-law pleaded not guilty, claiming diminished capacity due to gambling addiction and financial stress. Her attorney painted her as a victim of circumstance, a young woman pushed to desperation by debt and family pressure. The jury didn't buy it. The video of her confession was damning. Rachel's surveillance footage showed premeditation. The text messages with my sister revealed cold calculation. When Derek Vaughn took the stand and described in detail how she'd purchased poisons and planned my death, several jurors looked ill. My sister's trial was separate but equally swift. She claimed she'd never intended for me to actually die, that she thought it was all talk, theoretical planning. But her messages told a different story. Messages about funeral arrangements, about how quickly they could access my accounts, about dividing my property. Both were convicted. My daughter-in-law received 25 years. My sister got 15 for conspiracy and accessory to attempted murder. I didn't attend the sentencing. Couldn't bear to see their faces. But my son went. He needed closure. Needed to hear a judge declare that what they'd done was unconscionable. She didn't even apologize, he told me afterward. Not once. Even at sentencing, she maintained she'd done nothing wrong, that you'd driven her to it. Some people never accept responsibility for their actions. Some people will always believe they're the victim, no matter how much evidence proves otherwise. But healing came, slowly. My son started therapy intensive sessions 3 times a week. He moved into my guest room temporarily while he processed the divorce and sold the apartment he'd shared with his wife. Robert became a constant presence in our lives. Not intrusive, just there. Steady. Supportive. He taught my son to play chess, cooked elaborate dinners when neither of us had the energy to eat, sat with us during long silences when words failed. 6 months after the trial, Robert proposed. Nothing elaborate, just the 2 of us on my porch at sunset, him holding a simple gold band. I know it's fast, he said. And God knows the timing is terrible. But life is short. And uncertain. And I don't want to waste another moment not being fully committed to you. I said yes. Not because I needed rescuing or security, but because I'd found someone who saw me, truly saw me, and loved what he found. Someone who'd protected me before we'd even said, I love you. Someone who made me laugh again after months of tears. We married quietly 6 months later. My son walked me down the aisle. Rachel attended as my maid of honor, the woman who'd saved my life, now witnessing my new beginning. My son met someone new eventually, a kind woman who worked as a veterinarian, who had no interest in money or status, Just genuine affection for my gentle, wounded boy. I watched them fall in love carefully, slowly, building trust brick by brick. He'd never fully heal from what his ex-wife did, but he learned to live with the scars. Learned that betrayal by one person doesn't mean everyone will betray you. That love, real love, doesn't plot and scheme and poison. It protects, it nurtures, it shows up in hospital chapels and holds you while you cry. Before I finish this story, I need you to understand something. Family isn't always who you're born to. Sometimes family is who shows up when everyone else walks away. Sometimes it's the private investigator who risks everything to warn you, the partner who stands by you when you're accused, the son who chooses truth over comfort. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the people in your life, share it. Comment below with your own stories of survival and healing. And subscribe, because everyone deserves to know they're not alone in their struggles. Now let me tell you how this story really ends. 1 year after my 62nd birthday, I celebrated my 63rd surrounded by people who actually loved me. Not the performative love my daughter-in-law had shown, not the conditional love my sister had offered, but real, genuine affection from people who'd proven their loyalty when it mattered most. Robert grilled steaks in our backyard. My house had become our house after the wedding. My son arrived with his girlfriend, both of them laughing at some private joke. Rachel came with her husband, a quiet man who worked in cybersecurity. No fancy restaurant, no private dining rooms, just paper plates and string lights and the kind of easy conversation that comes when everyone present has survived something together. To survival, Robert toasted, raising his beer, and to the woman who refused to be a victim. 2 second chances. My son and to truth, Rachel said simply. I looked around at these people, my real family. The one I'd chosen and who'd chosen me, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. My daughter-in-law would spend the next 2 decades in prison. My sister was serving her sentence in a different facility. Derek Vaughn and his criminal associates were facing federal charges. Justice, imperfect as it was, had been served, but more than that, I'd reclaimed my life, refused to let fear or betrayal define me. I'd started a foundation to help elderly victims of financial abuse using my experience, educate and protect others. I'd written a book about recognizing the warning signs of family manipulation. I'd turned my nightmare into something meaningful. What are you thinking about? Robert asked softly, his hand finding mine. How lucky I am. How close I came to losing everything. How grateful I am for a waitress I'd never met who cared enough to warn me. Rachel saved your life that night. You both did. You hired her. You trusted your instincts when something felt wrong. I squeezed his hand. You loved me enough to protect me before I even knew I needed protecting. My son approached with a wrapped gift. Happy birthday, Mom. This one's hopefully less eventful than last year. Inside was a framed photo wall of us together at Robert's and my wedding, smiling, whole, a family forged not by blood but by choice and circumstance. It's perfect, I said, tears threatening. You're perfect, my son replied, and I'm sorry I didn't see what was happening sooner. Sorry I brought someone into our lives who... Stop. I touched his cheek. You loved someone who didn't deserve it. That's not a character flaw. That's your best quality. Don't apologize for having a good heart. As the evening wore on and fireflies began to dance in the twilight, I thought about that napkin with its desperate warning. Don't drink that. 3 words that changed everything. 3 words that forced me to make an impossible choice, risk my own life, potentially harm another. I'd switched those glasses knowing someone might die. Living with that decision hadn't been easy. There were nights I woke up haunted by the image of my daughter-in-law convulsing on that restaurant floor. Nights I wondered if there'd been another way. But then I remembered her confession. The months of poisoning, the casual way she'd discussed. Speeding up the timeline of my death, and I knew she'd given me no choice. It was self-defense, survival, justice. You okay? Robert's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Yeah, just remembering. Want to talk about it? No. I want to be here, present, with the people I love who love me back. I stood, raising my glass. I want to make a toast. Everyone quieted, turned to me, to warnings we heed, to instincts we trust, to people who protect us even when we don't know we need protecting. I looked at each face in turn, to surviving, to healing, to building something beautiful from the ashes of betrayal, and to birthdays that are boring, uneventful, and absolutely poison-free. Laughter rang out across the yard. We clinked glasses, just iced tea and lemonade this time. No champagne. I might never drink champagne again. As the party continued around me, I caught Rachel's eye. She nodded once, a silent acknowledgement of everything we'd been through. The woman who'd warned me, who'd gathered evidence, who'd helped prove my innocence. Later, as guests began to leave, my son lingered. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Are you happy? Really happy? After everything that happened? I considered the question carefully. Was I happy? My sister was in prison. My son's first marriage had been a lie. I'd been poisoned, arrested, and publicly humiliated. My family had fractured in ways that would never fully heal, but I was alive. I had Robert. My son was healing. I was using my experience to help others. I woke up every morning grateful for another day. Yes, I said finally, I'm happy. Not in spite of what happened, but because of how we all survived it. Because it showed me who really matters. What really matters? He hugged me tight. I love you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up, for fighting, for exposing the truth even when it hurt. I love you too, baby. More than anything. After everyone left, Robert and I sat on the porch watching the stars emerge. 63 felt different than 62. Older, yes, but also wiser, stronger, grateful for every breath. What are you thinking? About now? Robert asked. That napkin. Those 3 words. How different my life would be if I'd ignored the warning. But you didn't. No? I trusted my instincts. I chose survival. I leaned against him. Best decision I ever made. We sat in comfortable silence as night fell completely. Somewhere out there, my daughter-in-law was in a prison cell. My sister was facing the consequences of her choices. Derek Vaughn was serving his sentence. And I was here, on my porch, with the man I loved, having survived a conspiracy designed to destroy me. Life is fragile. Trust is precious. Family is complicated. And sometimes the people who save you are strangers who slip you warnings in restaurants, or partners who hire investigators without telling you, or sons who choose truth over comfortable lies. I'd learned to recognize real love from performance, real loyalty from manipulation, real family from people who shared my DNA but not my values. And I'd learned that survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about refusing to let betrayal poison your capacity for joy, for trust, for new beginnings. My 63rd birthday ended with no drama, no poisonings, no arrests, just peace. And that, more than anything, felt like the ultimate victory. So that's my story. The birthday dinner that almost became my last meal. The warning that saved my life. The betrayals that nearly destroyed my family. And the love that helped us heal. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for believing me. For understanding that elder abuse is real, that family can be the most dangerous enemy, and that survival is possible even when everything seems lost. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more true stories of survival and strength. And remember always, trust your instincts. They might just save your life. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and never drink the champagne without questioning who poured it.